No, so what I would venture to say that a better way to approach that, instead of going through and having it to where it's like mission based and stuff like that, is to right. So right now, if we go through and say, hey, it's mission based, salvaging in particular, if we go through and say like, cool, here's a contract from this, contracting company or whatever, no pun intended there, but here's a contract from this contracting company that goes through and it just needs to clear up an area, but they're out, so they go through and put up a thing that says, hey, if you can go salvage this ship, that's at this location, and you can keep all the stuff that you salvaged from it. We just have to get it cleared out, for whatever our job is. We'll pay an extra like $3,000 or $4,000, right? Um, if it's something to where like you only would get, basically one or two SCU, it might be something that physically finishing out the salvage, it's going to tell you ahead of time. You have to go through and salvage two SCU of material, right? It's not going to pay much in the sense that you're like, okay, well, even at 7,700 at two SCU, you're like, all right, that's like 15 grand. And then, you get like an extra two or three, $1,000 for the contract for them, right? Their big benefit to you is that you get to keep the salvage. Um, or let's take that vice versa and say like, instead of being able to keep the salvage, you actually have to deliver to the salvage to a
Yeah.
location, and that's actually probably a better route for it, because then they can actually go through and keep everything from it. But they do give you a straight fee of like, this is what it costs. This is what you get paid to do it, and let's just say that's $10,000. You would have made 15 off of it, but you're going through and building reputation with them. In that, you're going to go through and get higher contracts to go through and build that reputation up. It's not going to go through and affect your money that you earn for the salvage, because you're giving that to the company. That you're delivering that. That's a deliverable to a company, not just to salvage it, but to
No, that
deliver it.
makes much more sense.
But if you go through and look at it that way, if you think about it, instead of going through and saying like, "Hey, it's 7,700 SCU," I guess this is the other approach that I was thinking about, was like, that's a better way to go through and approach the contracts, is to go through and have it to where you're delivering that, just like right now. If I go through and you know find something from on this planet and have to deliver it to point B, it could be worth billions of dollars. I have no idea, but they're just saying, "Hey, for 5,000 credits, go pick up these three things and deliver them over
Right?
here."
Like truckers don't get paid what's in the back of their truck, right? Sometimes you do get paid more if if you do have volatile or valuable cargo or heavy loads, or if you've specialized in some certain way, right? Like that'll get you paid more. But
Yeah.
that goes back to the reputation, right? You need to have built those skills, that level. No, what you're saying now would be the way to missionize it if they're going to do that.
Well, and it really depends, because there's multiple approaches to it, right? Like in the real world, right? So you can drive for Swift, you know, or
I hear that you're not supposed to do that. I hear a lot of truckers making
oh
jokes
yeah,
about driving for
no, Swift
Swift.
is absolutely terrible. But but for starting off and needing to get your foot in the door and get hours, right? Because even if you go through and finish trucking school,
You need hours
most
before you
trucking
get hired.
companies are not going to bring you on. So they go through and they get on with Swift, who pays for their trucking school. They work for them for 2 years before they can go through and leave to another company, and then they have, a license. They have 2 years of experience doing over the road hauls, right? So during that time frame, you're getting paid enough to live, right? You're not getting paid amazingly, but the more hours you put in, the more money you can make. You can still earn a really good living doing that, even if you're just starting off that way. But whenever you start going out past that, and you go through and be like, cool, well, I've got a reputation, putting it in a game context right now, of being able to go through and provide and get good quality work, and it's good enough to where I can go through and venture out, take other contracts, take other things from other people, and in that sense, going through and saying like, cool, well, now I'm going to go through and work for this company, and they're going to provide me a little bit more because I already have a reputation built as being able to go through and do the job that I'm working on.
Not only that, you can straight up
They're
just
going to pay
ask for
you
more. You can
a little
leverage
bit more.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, the alternative to that is whenever you're an owner operator, right? You are making your own payments for your truck and your insurance and your fuel, and you're getting X amount per mile that you're able to govern and take contracts for, because people go through and bid on it, right? So companies go through and bid through the brokerages. They go through and bid and say, hey, I have this material that needs to move from A to B, and we're paying $2 a mile owner operator only, right? Because in that sense, it's only an owner operator thing. Or they might say it's a short trip, and it's at the end of the week when everybody's already trying to get out of this area, so we're only paying like 50 cents a mile, whatever it is. My dad's been a truck driver for fucking 42
no, I
years
know
or
you
something
know.
like
I
that.
know
So,
you know. Yeah.
so the way he goes right now is he's owner operator, right? He pays for his truck, and actually, that I take that back. His company's with now, they love him and they take care of everything. But generally, before this company he's at, he was paying for his truck, he was paying for his fuel, and he was paying for his insurance, and he was going through and calculating that out and going through and getting runs that were going through cross country where they were paying $1.80 or $2 a mile, because in that $2 a mile, his operating cost for that with insurance and everything like that while he was running was, say, 40 or 50 cents a mile. Okay, well, you're still profiting $1.50 a mile, so he's able to go through and
you just
justify
had to
all that.
calculate all that. Yeah.
So in the same sense, in game, I would love to see, just like American Truck Simulator, to where you can start off and not have a ship, but you're flying a company ship in game.
Well, that'll
You're not.
definitely be org play, right? Definitely.
You would think so, but they also haven't really expounded further on org play in 4 years.
Well, the way that, because we can just trade money in between players, no reason we couldn't set up contracts.
True,
Right?
but you can trade money, but that person would still have to have a ship capable of flying that stuff.
No, we would give them the ship. We would rent you a ship and expect so much work done, and then the problem would be the consequences. The consequence would be just you lose the ship. You don't get to make money with us anymore. But
yeah,
because we couldn't like sue them for money back, it would just be lost credits. If they didn't meet those goals or whatever. But there's no reason that we couldn't just externally, right, make our own contracts, rent our own ships out.
yeah.
No, is that a bad idea? Am I not tracking?
No, give me 1 sec. Sorry.
Oh, you're far away. I understand what's going on.
Yeah, no, my chat on my computer's doing.
You got shit to do, bruh. Get to work.
That was a simple reply back.
No, I'm sure it was nothing.
No, I would love to go through and see them bring org gameplay to the forefront more than moving it back. You know what I mean? Like, because and I know they're trying to get all the other systems put in place before they go through and get that done, and I'm like, cool, great, awesome. And I also would still love you to gold standard all the old ships, but also understanding that there's like 112, 115 ships and vehicles out right now.
In game, that's not even promised.
And there's only like 10 of those that are gold standard. I don't even know fucking what the number is. It's not much. Like, that's still a lot of shit to do just on gold standarding ships. And the reason why they're not jumping to all this is because they still have other systems that they're trying to get put in place that the newest ships that are gold standarded have the ability to go through and easily get input into, but they want to go through and get all the stuff out to understand what the full gold standard is.
Through the filter of Squadron 42 first.
Yeah. So it's a lot. Like, I get it and everything.
Not gonna.
But I was leading to all that stuff earlier about the
they could bring
reputation build stuff like that
for Star Citizen and have it not affect too much. I don't think they could have a team working on that. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if they even just built in a simple system of like building up contracts for work done.
Well, yeah, right, and like they already have a menu. They already have a like it's. I don't like it. I don't know much about making video games, so I hesitate to say this, but I feel like they already have the tools to make it possible. They're just haven't done that. They already have ship rentals. They already have equipment rentals. They already have all those systems in place. Yeah, it would just be, instead of me going and renting with Rec through Star Citizen, I'm renting with money through us, through an org. Yeah. I don't know, but they could definitely do more with org gameplay.
I would absolutely love for them to do that. My point that I was mentioning earlier about going through and having it to where, like, even if you were considering yourself, I have a Vulture, either I bought it in game or whatever it is, so I am an owner-operator level. Starting out to where instead of going through and having a set price for commodities of 7,700 AUEC for one SCU of salvage, or RMC, right, recycled material composite, if they made it to where it was based on either A, reputation as a salvager in game, since we do have reputation gameplay in the game. Right now it's all based around bounty
it's
hunting,
just
and that's pretty much
regular
the only fucking
reputation.
thing.
No, but the system's in
Like,
place, which is what's important.
yeah, but if you made it to where it was like, cool, reputation builds up either through doing mission-based stuff or continually going through and salvaging at a location, right? And if you have them to where they're specifically location-based, that changes shit, right? So if I'm always at like Area 18 dropping my shit off, and customs over there or the manufacturing companies through there, they know that what I deliver and how much I generally deliver, I go through and get a feedback loop of that, right? So I get better pay because I generally go through and do that. That's not going to be the fucking same through Orison or through Microtech or Pyro, whatever the fuck that is. And so having to go through and build that reputation up through there. But also having it to where, and this goes further into like the economy building system, if they're like, over in Area 18, right now it's going for this price, and well, I need to go through and build my reputation up at Orison or in Microtech or Crusader, or my org plays mainly over there, so I move over to there. Like, one, I don't have the reputation over there, and two, by me going through and delivering more over there, it's going to go through and drive the price down in certain areas and up in other areas. But that's a whole thing with like the economy system of like, where do I drop off this, RMC? Or if eventually they go through and have it to where ships, if it wasn't just how to word that? If it wasn't just RMC is RMC and it always will ever be RMC, if it was something to where, oh, you took out C2 Hercules, well, we know that there's going to be a lot more gold composite through there, and what actually makes up the ship, that could go through and have changes
too,
as well.
You know what I mean? Are you fucking salvaging Toyota Priuses all day, or are you salvaging fucking Mercedes Benz? Like, one's gonna get you a little bit different, more money than the other. No, that even checks out, man. They're. I think first they always go wide, and then they're gonna maybe hopefully fill in with deep. I hope that tracks. The system is wide, it's not deep right now. It needs to be deep to be a good system, in my opinion. But maybe they're just going wide to make it work, which is often a tactic.
Well, and we do have to take into consideration that we know this is tier 0, right?
Tier 0, yeah, 100%, right? This is brand new. It's fresh. How many times did mining change?
Yeah, and still continuing to change. I think we're still only at like tier 1 or tier 2 mining.
Like, I think it's tier 1. I think it is tier 1.
Yeah, so it's not even like complete.
No. Because there's not saddlebags. There's not. We're not even. There are
things like, I would conclude things like the Expanse, and yes, that can be going through and taken into consideration of like, well, is that part of mining or is that refining, right?
God, right? Are they separate? I don't think so, because nothing else needs refining. It's mining and refining.
Do you think that salvaging could possibly get to a point where it needs to be refined?
Into what? Like
individual components.
Materials?
Let's say I'm a salvager and I'm like, cool, and I bring my salvage, and you can go through and see different percentages.
What is the
recycled material composite?
Recycled material. What are you picking up from these ships? Just atoms? I'm confused.
At this point in time, yeah, it's kind of just like, I'm using a laser on that ship and pulling everything off the hull. Right now, you don't have anything to where you can go through and pick out individual components.
So that's what you're saying. But even if
you go through and take into consideration, like if I'm going through and saying like, cool, it looks like I'm taking everything off the wing, but if you also go and look at that, like, well, there's engines that, while yes, I don't take them off separately right now at this point in time, I'm still going through and like running over it. Well, that wing, is it a carbon based? Is it steel? Is it gold? Is there gold inlay? Is it some sort of like
well, yeah, in the engine it's gonna have alternators, generators, all those things require copper, gold, silver, and lots of stuff.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it in the sense is that if you can go through and salvage a ship, and then you can go through and see if they were to put this in, right, if you were able to go through and say like, okay, well, that's as it's coming through and it completes the SCU for like your container and generates it out, it goes through. Right now it just says RMC, but if it was RMC as a header, and then underneath it was made up of X amount of gold, X amount of minerals that are in the game, and then I was able to bring that over to a refinery and break it out instead of having it just RMC that sells for X amount of price. And this is where they would have to go through and change the pricing for it. But I would be able to go through and break it out and say, oh, nice. Well, now I have, so much SCU of gold, so much SCU of Quantanium, I guess, is only used for fuel, but everything else that's in the system,
Has these other
diamond,
purposes.
stuff like that, and then be able to go through and say, cool, like, at some point in time, you could refine RMC as opposed to be just being RMC, the recycled material composite that you can use for, ships to go through and restore the hull and everything like that, I guess, if you will. Like, you could break that down further. As a tier 0, RMC is RMC. Just like at tier 0 mining, it was there's a few different minerals, right? Whenever it first
We
came
had
out, there
like
was only a
3, I
few.
think. Yeah, 3 that we could
And
mine
then
from.
I
And it was
honestly think
only
whenever it was tier
ground?
0,
It was
it
on
was hand
Daymar?
based because
Yeah.
it was Daymar hand based, and it was your 3 that you like the green one, the red one, the blue one, right? That's how it all started off, and then we got space mining, and there was a couple asteroids that added a few more things, and then it went from being like 3 or 4 space mining metals to what we have now, which was everything from Quantanium and all the different ones that are on there, and there are varieties of like how much quantity is available in them, and like the random the RNGesus for doing that side of it, where it
Yeah.
was like
That all
how
came
much is
way later.
available.
That all came way later. Wow, yeah, you're
But
right.
tier 0, yeah, it was hand mining on Daymar. Yeah, I think it was Daymar, if I'm not mistaken, because it was all built still. Well, we just had Ollie forever, and you couldn't even get down to Crusader, and then even whenever they started expanding stuff out, it was, oh well, there's moons now, and you have Daymar and Yella, and then you can eventually get down to Daymar and Yella and stuff like that, and it was no transition in. Still couldn't get to Crusader, and then everything else came. Like, the people that are brand new to this shit and like have picked up since like Invictus or something like that, like no knocks to them, but they have no idea where it used to be, where it was like, yeah, remember when we just had fucking hangars that might load up and that you could possibly look into
I was there. I
into your
remember
ship. So
hangars.
it's like, yeah, like we didn't at one point in time we didn't even have.
I'm actually upset that hangars themselves went away because even after we had more, I loved just like, oh, I'm gonna go check out my ship in the hangar,
Yeah.
I'm mad we can't do that
So
anymore.
it's funny enough too, because if you actually go through the RSI website, there's actually still a hangar page that talks about the hangars and everything like that. That's still not removed from the site. It's still there
Well, they'll be
in
important in the
perpetuity.
future, if I'm understanding that correctly. You will have like home hangars placed around the verse. I had thought.
Well, see, that's the individual hangar modules and stuff like that for the hubs, but they haven't really, other than selling a ship that you can go through and use to place down, home modules, uh, and selling it, and it being probably
Well,
years
every
off.
ship, when you pledge for a ship, still comes with a hangar.
Yeah,
So they've got to be important somehow.
maybe it would give you access to be able to go through and have the option to pay to build that hangar somewhere. Does that make sense?
I think that's exactly how they're going to do it. I hope they do it like that. So, like, I have several Arrow View hangars right now. I know they're kind of like the base view hangars, but does that mean like hopefully I can place like one at Krulel 1, and then one in Pyro, and then one in
But I would say that it would be better if they were, instead of having access to several ArrowView hangars, like you have the ArrowView hangar blueprint that allows you to go through and be like, cool, well in Stanton, this is where my industrial stuff is based. So I actually have the industrial based hangars because of I own a cat, I own a mole, I own all the industrial ships. So an industrial themed hangar that maybe looks more like Cousin Crows and shit, like that's I have access to get that to build. I still have to pay to go through and build it in in-game currency, not like real world currency. But I can go through and pay to get one of those hangars built at around where around Crew L1, or wherever I decide to go through and have. However, they decide to be able to go through and have real estate in Star Citizen. But I can go through and have one of those hangars. So I have, if I don't own one of those ships outside of the game, right? Like, because that's how we got those hangar modules. Then you have access to, this is your hangar module that you have access to default. But in having those ships, if you've backed or purchased those ships, having it to where you can go through and say, cool, I actually do have access to, this version of the hangar module. Even if it's something to where it's like an industrial module that you can access in game to go through and purchase to be able to get built free somewhere, it's still going to not look like the ones that you actually, if you backed those ships that have these, very unique industrial looks or whatever. But having it to where you don't have to necessarily buy those outside of game, but you could buy those in game to get built somewhere and it might cost you, you want to go through and have an industrial hangar module that can go through and house your ships up to a certain size. Cool. It's going to cost you 500,000 AUEC to go through and build one of those, and then that's like a permanent structure in the game room, kind of thing that you only have access to, or people that you whitelist to be able to go through and access.
Yeah, that would be like an org play function.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows how they're going to pull that through. But they still have to be important because we're still buying them. So I hope they're important.
Yeah. And it would have to be something to where it's like even beyond just org play, right? Like even if I'm not a part of an org because I don't want to be a part of an org or whatever, I still want to be able to go through and have my friend Panda come in and park in my hangar and we can go through and get stuff organized and everything like that. Even without having an org, I just want to be able to go through and whitelist friends off of my friends list. And have things in place to where it's just like, cool, yeah, they're on my friends list. And I granted them access, like specifically to be able to go through and access.
How cool would it be like, oh shit, I'm running out of fuel. Oh, don't worry, Panda. I own a hangar. Just go land. You know what I mean? Like that could even come in handy.
Yeah.
Theory crafting.
It's
for Star Citizen.
For me, it's one of those interesting spots to where I'm just like, things with org gameplay is huge, and they do need to go through and set up a contract system and have insurances in place and things along those lines to be able to go through and get that stuff taken care of. Granted, also at this point in time, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have that in place, right? Because we don't have the bigger ships in place, right? We don't have the whole C's and the whole D's and the whole E's, right?
You can't operate those with a single person. You cannot operate those ships with a single person. So I hope that they either have it with those ships, because having those ships and not having org gameplay would suck.
Yeah.
Would suck.
Well, and right now there's no functionality for those ships because we only have a single system.
Yeah.
Right? There's no, and honestly, I wouldn't even do it in the first place. If it was something like, need to get all these supplies to fit up on a whole C, which is like, 5,000 SCU of storage. I don't remember what that one is. 5,000?
I can't remember.
I think it's like
5, a lot.
Anyways,
there's a lot of
a lot. Yeah, a lot. Because I think I remember it because it was like 10 or 11 times more than Caterpillar for the whole C, which I initially backed the whole C.
Yeah, you had one a while ago.
And then that's whenever I switched the stuff over to. I think I ended up getting the mole instead. Which, don't get me wrong, I love the mole, but anyways, so if it was something to where even if whenever they do introduce pyro, right, I am not taking a fucking whole C loaded up with a shit ton of stuff to a pirate system. Like, now that's going to go from UEE jump points to UEE jump points. And don't get me wrong, there might be some like fillers along the way and stuff to go through and make it towards actually kind of dangerous and everything like that. But I'm not going to actively go through and take
this station. This system is a pirate system.
Like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Wait, on purpose? Question mark.
But in that same sense too, like there will need to be things like, I think that at that point in time, whenever they bring in the whole series, like the larger whole series ships, there will have to be a contract or an org type system that's put in there. Even if it's not a full org system, a contract system to go through and get stuff delivered.
There's gotta be.
If you're going through and bringing,
that's what I'm saying.
Just 5,000 SCU of cargo from point A to point B from system to system. One, you can't bring a whole sea down into atmosphere, so you're going to have to be going through at a major, not just a Lagrange point, but a major Bikini Point or Everest Harbor or what's the one up on top of New Babbage? Tressler. I don't go to New Babbage that often, but Tressler.
It is Tressler.
You're going to have to go to a major hub for distribution of that stuff. And then it's going to be one of those things where you're going to fucking dock up and then it's not going to be an instant thing. It's going to take a few hours to go through and unload, you know, 10 times the largest carrying capacity of any ship that we have in game right now at a minimum. And it's going to have to unload all that shit. And then they're going to have to go through and be distribution. So that's going to be where contracts are generated to go through and say, hey, we got all this ship coming off the shipment, and we need to go through and distribute it out. And that's where it's going to have to be like, also in there, the economy system, to where you're going to go through and say, well, what's going to determine where they deliver to? Supply and demand, right? You're not just going to go through and show up with fucking 5,800 SCU of cargo and be like, yeah, I always deliver it to Tressler because it doesn't matter where I deliver it to. Well, logically, you would need to go through, and honestly, it'd probably go to something like Area 18 or Hurston, because that's where there's a larger capacity of citizens. Just based on lore in the game, the entire ArcCorp
Yeah, it's a big mega
is
city.
a city. There's nothing but city on that place. So that tells me that they're going to be the most likely to go through and use a lot of that. New Babbage is mostly ice because of the whole terraforming failure or something like that. So it's going to be all of one of those things where it's just like, yeah, no. So logically, that's a much smaller population. If I were to rank them out, I would say probably Crusader is the smallest, and then Microtech is right there after that. Then Lorville, then Area 18.
Yeah, gotta be.
Or not Lorville, but Hurston, and then ArcCorp, right? ArcCorp being the most populous of that area. And so you would be docking to, most likely, Bajini Point over ArcCorp. Sorry,
Yes.
1 sec. All right, I'm back.
Hey, back.
There's one of the neighbor kids. He's every time it like snows and everything like that, he's been really good about coming around and like $10 goes there and gets a sidewalk and everything like that. And I was like, I can't this time. I ain't got cash. He's like, I got Venmo. I'm like, oh, you damn right, you little bastard. I was like, I'm gonna pass this time only because the neighbors like I got to do their yard too. He's like, I'll do theirs too. 15. I was like, man, but I need to also get their back. But my neighbor Mike. He's got a snowblower, like one of the gas powered ones or whatever. So I go through and
my snowblower did not. I had to do everything by hand because I've got an electric one, a Ryobi Ego, and it was too much snow for it.
His is a big gas one that's like weighs a ton and everything, and it actually does really good. But so last time I think I gave this kid like $20 or something like that to go through and take care of the yards or the sidewalks, and like he takes care of it. But I was like, next time I got you. Like I can't fault his little hustle game. I'm like, yeah, knock it out, bro. But this time I was like, I'm going to cash, and the only reason why I didn't do Venmo, I don't have one set up on mine. Rue usually does the Venmo stuff and has it set up on hers, but I'm like, nah. Damn, felt bad for telling him no. Because he's always consistent too, and he takes care. He does good. Like he doesn't leave any ice or anything like that. He's got a little shaker with like the ice melt in there too. So I appreciate his little hustle game. I'm like, man, I got you. Like next time you come through, I'm gonna make sure you're taken care of. But like this time, I needed to go through because neighbors just had a baby like a week ago, and he's driving a lot. He drives trucks a lot, so I was trying to make sure they're taken care of. So,
so you gotta go out there and do that?
Yeah, so once I get off here in like 5 minutes, I'll go through and
good luck.
Go out there and use their snowblower and everything like that and get the sidewalks taken care of. And I do the driveways.
Yeah, well, the snowblower won't be bad. I had to do all of it by hand. Yeah, my snowblower, it took me 2.5 hours. I had to do it all by hand. I have a snowblower, which I really like. It's been a lifesaver, but it was just too much snow for it.
Yeah. But no, like I was saying, the big thing that I'm looking at is going through with org, and even if not full org gameplay, which it would be dumb for them to go through and not have org gameplay put in the same time as like contract gameplay. You know what I mean? Like if I was delivering, so if they put in like the whole series and get the whole C in there, they're gonna have to that'll be at the same point in time whenever they go through and have multiple systems, not just Pyro, because nobody's fucking going from Stanton to Pyro in a whole C to go through and deliver shit over there. Because that just sounds like getting ganked. And then 2, so it's going to have to be another UEE system. And then 2, it's going to have to be a introduction with contracts to be able to go through and disseminate the work, even if it's NPC contracts that are getting created to go through and disseminate, the logistics of getting an entire hull C or a hull D worth of material and getting it from Bikini Point, or whatever it is, in these references, Bikini Point or Tressler or whatever, and getting it sent out to all the stuff around Area 18, or all the stuff on ArcCorp, and then also the moons, because there are some establishments and bases or whatever around moons. But generally, it would be something to where you're flying basically from Bikini Point to different locations, different large city points on Area 18 or on ArcCorp. I keep saying Area 18 on ArcCorp, or vice versa, right? For Crusader, going down to Orison, like it's really only got one at this point in time. We only have the 1 point, right? It's just going down to Orison, and going from Ollie. But I don't think you can actually deliver. You wouldn't be able to deliver to Ollie because I don't think Ollie has docking locations. It's all pads. Am I wrong in that?
I'm thinking. I think it's all pads. How difficult would it be to add docking tubes, though? I don't think that necessarily difficult.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, isn't Ollie supposed to get decommissioned?
Who knows? It's changed all the time. Yeah, maybe blown up, maybe not around, maybe. Lore is that it's a station that was built long before the R&Rs and long before,
And see, I would love them to use that as a point in time to go through and develop contracts for it, right? Hey, Ollie's getting decommissioned. Before it gets decommissioned, so we still have something to go through and dock to over there, we're actually going through and building, Dream Station, the fucking, instead it's going to be replacing your main spot out there. So we're going to need supplies, refined, minerals, not quantanium, all the other shit to go through and deliver out to this location.
Money to getting aluminum and shit.
Right. So we're going to need aluminum. We're going to need steel. We're going to need iron. We're going to need, all this other stuff that's out there for these other things. We're going to be paying a higher commission base. You're going to deliver them to Ollie so they can go through. That'll be like the base of operations for the freaking
right. Because why wouldn't you? You would. There's already a structure in place. You'd be using that.
And then over the course of weeks, months, years, it can go through and be like, you can see this other thing getting built up on the side, and then after it is built up and all of the electronics and everything like that, so for during that time frame, they're going through and paying higher amounts for stuff that's not quantanium for refining, but then also things like you'd be able to go through and bring back RMC and salvage, like the recycled material composite, and get that over there for delivery to go through and have it to where it's getting stuff taken care of. Once that's done, cool, now we need to decommission Ollie, and so salvaging, go through and pull and salvaging off the parts of Ollie to go through and it's something that would not be a fast thing. It would take months to go through and decommission Ollie. But you have this other, just so it's based around whenever we used to do an ED, whenever it was hey, this new system. So that shit would be fucking great. That's how they should go through and if they want to decommission Ollie.
We saved that one place by bringing them enough fish.
Yeah. So if they want to decommission Ollie, cool. Do it as a community-driven project that goes for the course
Which
of
is what Star Citizen was
months.
supposed to be about. It was supposed to be this kind of ever-evolving, player-driven experience. That's what they've always, at least, emergent. That's what they've always wanted.
Yeah, emergent gameplay. Right, we go through and put the stuff in there to happen. And whether it's, and honestly, something like that seems like a much cooler and much funner, for me, community event, insteed of the
Jumptown 2.0.
Yeah, Jumptown 2.0 or Jumptown 2.1 or the
cool.
Ninetales. For me, those are interesting for about that long. And then I'm like, all right, cool. Back to mining. Honestly, because I'm just a terrible dogfighter, and especially whenever you go into some of those situations. I remember when we did the Ninetales, and it was me and you and some other dude versus the Ninetales guys, and then 15 freaking regular players that were oh, we got things because we're criminals, and so we got a whole different thing, and it was just going against the criminal NPC or criminal players and the NPCs, and it was yeah, let me fly all the way over there just to get blown up immediately. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Fuck that, not interested, because I'm not earning anything from it. I'm not earning any credits from it or reputation from it, because I'm just getting blown up immediately. So having something that's not just a combat based community event to me sounds like a really cool aspect that they not only could do but should do based on those systems, and having it to where it's something like that to where it's like, yeah, no, decommissioning Ollie and building up the new fucking the port over Crusader sounds like a really fucking cool idea. Even if it's something to where like, because they're always talking about like, yeah, we're going to consistently bring on new platforms and everything like that around Crusader or different parts of Crusader as well. Cool. Sounds like for that you're going to need I don't know, materials.
Oh my gosh, players with pioneers, like, here's an extra contract. Come actually build the thing that we want to build. How cool would that be, eh?
That'd be fucking badass.
Cool, man.
I don't know. Yeah, it's for me. It's like that. Sounds really cool. Hey guys, let me know what you think about the conversation that we were having here in the video. I kind of wanted to be candid, and it did start off a little bit later than what we were expecting, or what I was expecting. I was like, let me actually record this and just talk about the theory crafting. So, let me know down in the comments below. Until next time, this is the Nerdy Gentleman, reminding you to game happy. I love you all, and I will see you all later. Bye, guys.